Hello and welcome to Election Brief. I'm Arba Kumsin, and coming up today, President Akufo-Addo takes a swipe at his government's critics who oppose the compilation of the new voters register.
Claimed that in the midst of a pandemic, the registration exercise should not be conducted, with some warning of an explosion in our case count and very high numbers of deaths should the exercise go ahead. By the grace of...
Meanwhile, governing NPP vows to shrink votes in the NDC strongholds during the December 7 polls.
Our agenda, our set objective will be achieved with the right approach. So I want to assure the national organizer and the National Research and Elections Director that we are battle ready. There's no fears.
Also, former President John Mahama tours the Volta Region, accusing government of suppressing votes in the NDC strongholds. Thank you for joining us from wherever you are. I'm Arba Kumsin, and we are live from our studios in Kokomlemle on digital address GA0992539. We are also live on your digital TV, DSTV channel 421, GoTV 144, and on YouTube. And we're also streaming live on myjoyonline.com. This is Election Brief. Thanks again for staying with us. Now, President Akufo-Addo has taken a swipe at his government's critics who oppose the compilation of the new voters register. Several civil society organizations, as well as political parties, including the opposition NDC, kicked against the exercise, citing poor timing and the COVID pandemic. But in his 15th COVID-19 updates, President Akufo-Addo said his government's COVID-19 policies have resulted in a significant reduction in the number of active cases and had no negative impact on the exercise, while charging the police to deal with people who contributed to the isolated cases of violence at some centers during the registration exercise. He described the exercise as largely peaceful.
And there were those who claimed that in the midst of a pandemic, the registration exercise should not be conducted, with some warning of an explosion in our case count and very high numbers of deaths should the exercise go ahead. By the grace of God, the work of the Electoral Commission and the effective measures put in place by government, these prophecies of doom did not materialize. There were nonetheless deeply regrettable isolated incidents of violence, which I condemn unreservedly and which I expect the police to deal with without fear or favor. But the exercise was generally peaceful. The Ghanaian people have, by the conduct of this exercise, demonstrated our commitment once again to consolidating our status as a beacon of democracy on the continent and in the world. The professional Jeremiahs and naysayers who seek cynically to make a profitable industry out of spreading falsehoods, fear, and panic, stoking divisive ethnic sentiments, underestimate the resolve and the determination of Ghanaians to build a united, democratic, peaceful, prosperous, and happy Ghana.
Let's stay on the governing NPP because the party has vowed to shrink votes of the NDC in the Volta Region during the December polls. The Volta Regional Chairman of the party, Makafui Wanya, expressed optimism this objective would be achieved if the NPP harnesses the right mindset, the right approach, and the right strategy during the campaign. He said this at the inauguration of the Volta Regional Campaign Committee in Ho. Fred Kwame Asare has more.
The 30-member committee would plan, coordinate and execute campaign activities of the NPP in the Volta region towards the December 7 polls. The committee was tasked to work towards increasing the governing party's voting pattern in the general elections. The national NPP organizer, Sami Ewuku, who inaugurated the committee, urged members to ensure the NPP wins parliamentary seats in the Volta region.
So for the team today, their task is simple. Mobilize enough votes for candidate Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and his parliamentary candidate in the various constituencies. If you list Volta, we have 0 seats. Your brothers and sisters in OT, they've exposed you temporarily. But it's temporary because you have an opportunity to make a claim. If we move from 0 in Upper West to 5 seats in 2016, it is possible to have more seats in the Volta region.
He, however, implored electorates to vote based on their circumstances and developments harnessed in the region.
Sometimes what saddens my heart is that the NDC only remembers Volta region in an election year. You're right. You cannot pretend to love a woman, but only remember that woman in the middle of the night. That is disrespect to the woman. If you love the person, it should be morning till evening. It should be throughout the 4 years of your existence when you are in government, the 8 years you were in government. But you never remember this, your adorable region. But when it was time, or when it's time for elections, that is when we remember that we have a covenant with this, our beautiful region. Now our eyes open. And clearly the people of Volta region, they will decide where to cast their ballot and who to cast it for, depending on their circumstances and the development that has come their way. That should be the issues that will be confronting the people in the region with come this December 2020.
The Volta Regional NPP chairman, Makafi Wanya, who doubles as the chair of the campaign committee, assured the party would achieve its desired objectives.
And I can tell you that with the right mind and approach and strategy, we'll get to where we want to get to. Our agenda, our set objective will be achieved with the right approach. So I want to assure the national organizer and the National Research and Elections Director that we are battle ready. There's no fears.
Fred Kwame Asari, JoyNews. Ho.
Let's stay in the Volta region a while longer, but this time let's turn our attention on the opposition NDC because the party's flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama, has begun a 4-day tour of the region. The former president is expected to meet with traditional rulers, opinion leaders, organized labor, supporters, members and activists of the NDC. Well, JoyNews is learning that Mr. Mahama will ride on his infrastructure development to court the support of the electorate in the Volta region. Correspondent Ivy Setaji has been following the former president and she joins us via phone. Ivy, bring us up to speed on what the former president has been doing. Which areas has he been visiting? What has he been saying?
Okay, so the former President Mahama visited Bato and Mefe. He visited the traditional people of Bato and Mefe. He has been telling them that the NPP is using all manner of strategies to suppress a lot of people to register in the previous registration. So he's telling the people that when NDC comes to power, all these things must stop. He's saying that a ruling party should be able to unite the people and not to divide them and use all techniques to divide the people of the, especially the Volta region. He also said that he met the chiefs and the people of Bato and Mefe and assured them that all the projects that he promised will come to fulfillment when he becomes president in 2021. Now, the paramount chief of Bato, Togbi Patania, said that the chiefs in the region should be respected. He said that there are some accusations by the NPP that chiefs of the region are polling agents of one particular party, and that is an insult to the people, the chiefs of the Volta Region, that they should be respected. Now, the president has also been saying that when he comes to power, he will focus more on technical and vocational education. That means that he's going to make sure that all people who want to go to technical and vocational school go free. And so he's also going to create 250,000 jobs a year for 4 years. That's about 100 million jobs for 4 years. So these are some of the things he's saying. Currently, he's going to Central Town, Kumasi, to meet the chiefs and people, and then he will continue to Angloga District and Keta municipality.
And then from technical institute, they can continue into technical university and qualify as BTech, as auto mechanic, as HND, whatever qualification they can get free of charge. Because it's not the secondary school grammar kind of education that will help us. What has made countries like Germany great is that most of their people are technical, vocationally trained. And so you find that they have a lot of middle-level technicians.
So that's former President John Mahama there, starting his 4-day tour of the Volta region. Correspondent Ivy Sotoji is still on the line with us. Ivy, so what's been the reaction and the response from, the residents where he visited?
Yeah, so when we got to Bato, we saw hundreds of people on the streets welcoming the president, even at the parties. And when we got to Mesato, the same thing, lots of people came on the street to welcome the former president. Now, they are saying that all the promises he made, they want him to fulfill his promises when they vote for him. Some of the people said they are still going to vote for President Mahama so that he can come and fulfill his promises.
I see a lot of, the residents there on our television set. They're holding placards. Can you tell us what some of those, what's written on some of those placards?
Okay, so some of these placards said no electricity, no vote, no internet, no vote. And some are also saying suppressing in the Volta region is becoming too much. We want a free region, no tribalism. So these are some of the things written on the placard.
All right, Ivy Sotoji is our Volta regional correspondent there, bringing us up to speed on former President John Dramani Mahama's campaign or tour of the Volta region, which he started today. All right, now let's come to the issue of roads, which is usually a topical issue during the campaign season. As you know, the Akufo-Addo administration has declared this year the Year of Roads. Well, this past week, government is promising to swiftly and adequately compensate families whose homes and properties will not be affected by the road construction at the coastline of the Greater Accra region. Dozens of houses and businesses would have to be demolished to make way for the dualization of the 26.6-kilometer stretch from Accra to Tema, which has been in the pipeline for decades. Well, at a sword-cutting ceremony to begin construction at Nungua in Accra, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Balmia also charged contractors to engage the services of local artisans during the construction, which is expected to end in 24 months.
Some communities have archaeological sites, buildings and structures of historical importance. They are landmarks of our nation's struggle for independence, like the Osu Crossroads, one of the landmarks in our struggle for independence. But these will be preserved for posterity. We are not going to touch them. The Ministry of Roads and Highways will ensure that these national monuments are protected during the roads construction. The works, as stated, is being undertaken by the Ministry of Roads with the Department of Urban Roads as the implementing agency. I'll urge the supervisors to ensure that adequate traffic management measures are put in place to reduce inconvenience to commuters along the corridor during the period of construction. I'll also appeal to all road users to bear with the contractor and the supervisors during the construction period and cooperate with them to ensure greater public safety and an early completion. For those whose property will be affected by the project, the government will ensure that you are adequately compensated and compensated on time for the loss that you may suffer. The constructor and supervisors should ensure job opportunities, both skilled and unskilled, are available to our youth of the affected communities. This is an important aspect of our road construction guidelines to contractors. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy that the La Beach Road project is finally a reality. Again, this is a potential game changer in our urbanization with enormous economic benefits.
You're still watching Election Brief with me, Araba Kumsa. Now, founder and leader of the All People's Congress, Hassan Ayariga, is asking Ghanaians to vote against the NPP and the NDC in the upcoming December polls. Hassan Ayariga argues that the two leading parties have done little to tackle the challenges facing Ghanaians. He made these remarks after the party acclaimed him as the flag bearer for the 2020 polls.
By the power vested in me by the Electoral Commission, I declare them as executives of the All People's Congress.
Greater Accra Regional Chair of APC, His Lord Tete, said Ghanaians have had enough of the NDC and the MPP.
The people of Ghana are sick and tired of NDC and MPP. It is time for the youth to arise, uphold and defend the good name of Ghana by voting for the All People's Congress. It is time to bury the dead goats and retire the grandpa president and grandpa ministers.
For the leader of the All People's Congress, his party is ready to deliver good governance to the Ghanaian people.
That power that we want to take is not for personal interest or personal gain. That power is for you to take and give it back to the people. That is why when we say APC, we say power to the people. The people need that power, not you. If we can be able to do ordinary things in an extraordinary way, Ghana will be better than where it is today. If we are able to cut down on corruption, we will be able to implement free tertiary education. If we are able to cut down on corruption, we will build high-rise buildings for our aged. If we are able to cut down on corruption, we have food security and we have a lot of health care for our people who are dying out there because they cannot have health care.
You're still watching Election Brief. We're taking a short breather, but still ahead. Care for Free and Fair Elections Ghana has accused the Electoral Commission of selective implementation of the Representation of the People's Amendment Act. We have details. We'll speak to them live when we return. Welcome back to Election Brief. Now, Care for Free and Fair Elections Ghana, that's Care Ghana, has accused the Electoral Commission of selective implementation of the Representation of the People's Amendment Act. According to the group, the Electoral Commission is registering Ghanaian students living and studying abroad, a move the group describes as discriminatory. In a statement signed by the executive director of the group, David Kumi-Addo, he asked the commission to ensure openness and transparency in its preparations towards the December 7, 2020 polls in order to ensure a peaceful atmosphere in the country devoid of suspicion to avoid confusion. David Kumi-Addo joins me via Zoom. Many thanks for your time. So what's the basis for this allegation? I understand that you have a letter to this effect. Tell us about that.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to your viewers and your listeners. We intercepted a letter from the Czech Republic, that is the students in Hungary, the directive to present their data for onward transmission to the Electoral Commission. Now, we were a bit alarmed because we know that the implementation of ROPA has been cancelled, or let's say postponed, because of the prevalence of COVID-19. And now, if the Electoral Commission is asking other students, or maybe students that are on government scholarship, to bring their data through the missions, then it becomes problematic, because in this particular instance, you are determining who is more a Ghanaian than the other. Now, every Ghanaian must have the opportunity to register and vote. The Constitution Article 42 states that every Ghanaian that is of 18 years and of sound mind and is willing to vote must be given the opportunity to register and vote. Dr. Sribokweku came to tell us that because of the prevalence of the coronavirus, we are unable to implement the ROPA. Therefore, this year's election, there will not be ROPA represented. Now, what is happening? What has changed? What is the situation that if today you can implement ROPA, then why is it that you are not involving all others? Because you need to open up the opportunity for all. Unfettered access to register is very important. That is fairness and equal opportunity given to all Ghanaians. But in this case, if you are selecting, if you are becoming selective, that you are determining who a Ghanaian, who should be more a Ghanaian than the other, it becomes problematic.
All right,
now,
but Mr. Kumi-Addo, have you reached out to the Electoral Commission with these concerns, and what are they telling you?
Now, what we do, our modus operandi, is not talking to the Electoral Commission directly. It's talking to the Electoral Commission through your medium, that's the media house.
So you haven't made any effort to find out from the Commission what the status quo is? Is that what you're saying?
As we're speaking to you right now, we are speaking to the Electoral Commission because that is how we operate. You remember that the National House of Chiefs called the Electoral Commission for a meeting to inquire as to how things have gone so far. The Electoral Commission told them that they don't have time because time is not on their side. We don't want to bother the Electoral Commission. We don't want to engage them, spend their time to become a challenge.
All right, many thanks. Thank you very much. That's Kumi-Addo. He is a spokesperson for Care Ghana. Well, we've been picking up some information from the Electoral Commission. My colleague, Kwesi Parker-Wilson, joins me via Zoom for more on this. Parker, what have you picked up?
So, my sources at the Commission tells me that they are not implementing ROPA, but rather there's a status quo that has always been there. The law provides or makes provision for Ghanaian students studying abroad to be registered, and most of these students oftentimes vote via proxy. So that is essentially what is going on. But that particular letter that Care Ghana is referencing did not even come from them, but rather the Foreign Affairs Ministry. So for them, they're not implementing ROPA, and that they're not even registering the student as we speak at the moment. I checked whether they're going to do that in the not too distant future. My source tells me that the Commission is still working on their modalities. If they will register Ghanaian students in abroad, definitely they'll let the public know about it.
All right, many thanks, Kwesi Parker-Wilson, with that update from the Electoral Commission. And that's how we wrap up the show today. I'm Barbara Kumson. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. Remember, Election Brief comes to you every weekday at 1:30 to 2:30, 2 o'clock p.m.